Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Art and Activism. This time we're going to be talking about activism as a choir, not a solo. But what that really means is I'm about to talk to three people who I admire very much in the street art realm. We're going to talk about art in the public space. We're going to talk about accessibility today, about healing, trauma, all of that good stuff. But I want to introduce you to Simone Saleeb, to Blur, to Tiff, Urquhart, and we're going to let them tell you a bit more about themselves. So let's welcome everybody in. Hey!
Hey, y'all.
I feel like it's like this that I'm meeting in the ladies' room. I'm like so excited to talk to everybody today. All right, so we're gonna go around and let everybody sort of like describe what they do. Just wax poetic on whatever you want. Simone, we'll start with you because you're the first person I see on my screen.
Okay, cool. So my name is Simone Saleeb. I am a muralist, street artist, educator in Philadelphia. I started making art in 2017, and here we are today.
No, more.
No more? You want more?
Yeah, no, tell me, just tell us a bit like about what you're working on right now.
Sure. So actually right now I am not in Philly. I'm a Philly-based artist. I love Philly. Philly is my home. But right now I'm actually at my first artist residency of my life, which I'm so fortunate to be here for, at the Women's Studios Workshop in upstate New York. And during my time here, I'm going to create a 23-foot mural on this beautiful wall.
That's perfect. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, Blur, you're up next. Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Oh, can you hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. I'm Blur. I am an anonymous street artist. I started in, my glasses are coming off, they're fogging. But yeah, I started in 2015, and I would describe my artwork as like pop art poetry. And that's just mouths and my feelings. And I started doing stickers first, and then I started doing bigger and bigger works as the time moved on. I literally can't believe it's been 5 years that I've been doing this. Feels like a minute.
It's like the piece behind you, I feel like I've seen in a campaign before.
This was actually with Mural Arts.
Ah.
This guy up here was for the first To the Polls
That's what it was. Okay.
event. Yeah. And now it's with me. It came from Philly, and it came with me up to Massachusetts, which is where I'm living right now. Can't wait to get back to Philly, though.
Can't wait to have you back.
Yeah.
You ready, Tiff?
Here I am. I'm Tiff Urquhart. I am a Philly-based artist. I actually just moved to Philly about 1.5 years ago, fell in love with the art scene, and I had to come. I just got into street art this year, actually. I've been doing art all my life. I also am a pet portraiture artist for your little furry ones. But yeah.
So I guess we should like jump right in and just start the conversation, because I feel like we're gonna need the entire 45 minutes to go over everything that we wanted to do. So I think maybe the first thing that we could talk about is just art in the public space and what that means to you to be able to have your voice there. Everybody can just jump in at any time.
So I'm gonna hop in. So art in the public space, I think, is super important. But to be in Philly, where it's very accessible, unlike many places, because we are the mural capital of the world, which is beautiful. Yeah, so I think public art in the public space is so important because it is accessible to anybody all the time. It removes the restrictions of galleries or an admission fee, and anybody, whether you're taking your daily commute to go to work or to go to the grocery store or to drop your kids off at daycare, you see it. It's a part of your life. It's the backdrop to your every single day. And I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's free, it's accessible. There's so much of it. And you can be walking down the street at any given moment and look down, look up to the side, and you're gonna see public art in the public space.
Yeah, I mean, all you have to do is like not look at your phone and kind of lift your eyes from your shoes, and you'll see so much, so much. And I think it's almost a little romantic in a way, like a little romance with the city, because it feels like sometimes the stickers or the wheat pastes are there when I need them almost. It feels like the universe is sending me a sign that like just can change my day. I mean, really alter someone's day. And I think that's like unbelievably powerful to be able to connect with people. I mean, that's why I started doing it, was craving connection and like a heart connection with people. And I think that's still true today, that, you know, I mean, why do we all of us, why do we keep doing it? Why has it been something that we just started or have done for years? And I think you really crave that connection, even if one person sees it before it's ripped off or scribbled on, you know, that's worth it.
Maybe let's talk about that for a little bit, because I think when we all came together beforehand, we were talking about the altering and the evolving. I'd love to know what type of messages or what type of art you all were putting out at the very beginning and how that's evolved over time.
I think for myself, my street art has always kind of been in a similar space of things that are current events, because that's often what propels me and inspires me to move in a specific direction, whether that's stuff regarding politics, health, everyday life in Philly, anything. And I think to be able to make things that are relevant to the times and also can start conversations with the public is so powerful within the public space.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tiff.
I wanted to say, it's, you feel that connection with the public. So when you're creating this art, it brings you together, and it's like that link that we both need as an artist and as the viewer. But like I started creating things, you know, like flowers and astronauts, and not necessarily with like direct messages, like just leave it up for. But then I started pairing it with words, very minimal words, like 2 or 3 words, or like just these like super powerful, bold, colorful images. And I think that's how it's evolved for me, at least.
Yeah, it changes the game when you add text. It really does. I mean, you go from having an idea that's up for interpretation, and then you add some words, and then you're kind of guiding someone along to try to have the same connection. You're like, this is how I feel. Now I kind of want to see, does anyone else feel like that? For me, when I started, it was very much a thing that I desperately needed to do to heal. So it very much started as a thing for me and became and grew a thing. I ended up feeling like, oh, I need to not just speak about my experience, but speak about others' experiences. I felt a call to continue to widen what I speak about, to not just be only about me, but then also be about all disabled women or disability in general, trauma healing, and just just surviving as a human. Being human is so hard. It is taxing.
Say that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And to give voices to the minority groups and the people who might not otherwise be able to have a voice, and we can be that voice through our art. I mean, if you inspire and change one mind, it's like a ripple effect, and it goes and it passes on. And that keeps me going and keeps me wanting to do art and to keep creating.
Totally.
I think especially right now in the time of the election and also in the time of the pandemic, to be making art that's specifically about that, because we are all going through this at the same time. like collectively, we are experiencing the same thing, regardless of our viewpoints. We are all like going through this thing where we could get sick, or like our loved ones could get sick, and like the state of the country is in a specific space, and to be making art that's specifically about that, and to be opening a dialogue with people is, I think it can ignite change in a way that's really important.
Yeah, and it's affecting like every age too. Like no one, I remember calling my mom up and crying and just being like, have you ever gone through something like that? And she was like, no one has ever gone through that. Like this is all new and fresh, and we're all figuring it out. And, you know, as someone with chronic illnesses, and I've been sick since I was 16 years old, so it's been like over a decade now. And I totally thought that I was going to be a pro at COVID and like managing it and dealing with it, because I had been bedridden for so long. And I mean, my life with illness, a lot of people experience this too with illness, it's unpredictable. You have no idea what your future is going to hold and what tomorrow is going to look like or feel like. And but this is a whole different kind of animal. I still think that I'm more prepared for COVID because of my past experiences. It's like finally something on my resume that really resonates right now. But yeah, everyone's just trying to really figure it out. And what are artists but way for like artists? What is my thought? Artists, we are the
We're like
people.
We're like the shovel. We're like the sauce. You know?
Yes. Thank you, Simone.
Yeah.
We are the chip. We're the chip. There you go.
But that, like with the chronic illness and just like mental health in general, like you show up to a new body every day. Like we all show up to a new body every day. And so like every day is a new day, and we don't know how to treat it, like with the pandemic and like how we're feeling. And so like just to show up, and I know Simone, we were talking about that before, but like just to show up is a huge deal. Like to show up to yourself and give yourself room just to be here is like super, super important. You don't, like, we have so many expectations, and we need to like let these expectations go and just show up for yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of back to basics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't busy ourselves to the point of never dealing with our past, or because that's the most fun thing to do as a human, is to kind of run from your feelings. It's not something that our society is all that great at, with dealing with people who are having problems, and the amount of shame that comes with that. And I think this COVID's really stripping everything away, and now we get to rebuild. And I think that's a really beautiful opportunity.
Yeah, and just check in with yourself. Like sometimes, like if I don't create one day, I'm like so hard on myself. Like, why didn't I create today? But it's like, I have to have patience with myself. I have to give myself, you know, a break to just like step back and like breathe. And tomorrow is a new day. So
Yeah,
just having patience.
we're all doing like enough, you know, like it's cool. You don't have to be constantly producing. It's okay to have quiet reflection, to consume art, not just for me. I feel like I'm just like cutting a vein, like let's go. I want to like pour everything out, but at some point you have to fill yourself back up. And
I think it's easy to burn too if you're like constantly making stuff all the time. And like someone once said to me, like they only make art in certain seasons, and I was like, yeah, what an idea. I like wanted to take a little bit of that after I heard it, and was like, I need to like start practicing that myself and stop looking at like this unrealistic expectation of like you're an artist and all you do is make art. There's so many different lanes where that's important, and whether that's like teaching people your skill and like letting them also run with it and also like do that little bit of a ripple effect, within making their own art it's really cool. I think that's a whole different space that I'm in kind of like right now mentally. And honestly, it's so freeing to kind of let go of that. Like, I need to make something every single day, or I need to post something on Instagram every day. That's reality.
Instagram has that, causes that
Oh, yeah.
pressure. Instagram
100%.
causes it. And if you just remove the app, like, what would you do? You would take more time to think about things, to really focus and put your energy into what you want to say. We are all saying things so quick, which is not
just
bad,
like,
because that's
we just gotta like
what it's like
slow
today.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta slow down. But Simone, that's so funny that you said that about the seasons, because yesterday I read a quote and it was, nothing in nature blooms all year. And like, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to produce every single day or like throughout the whole entire year. Like, give yourself a break.
Definitely. But there's also like this like space right now where like every single day I feel like something else happens, whether it's like good or bad, like an extreme. And like, to say that I like, it's like, it inspires me, and like, it comes from a place a lot of times of like feeling like almost helpless or sad, or like, I can't believe this is our reality. And I often try to take that and channel that, and sometimes like making something is like a little bit of a form of therapy for myself, and can be like a sigh of relief.
I was about to say,
Like, sometimes I feel,
I'm sorry, I just wanted to talk about Simone amplifying her voice through others, because a lot of times when we see your work on the street, there are quotes. And I think they're instantly recognizable, but I think that's very interesting that it's not necessarily your words, but you're giving us an idea of where your head is at the time, I think.
Yeah, because like a lot of times it's not like I make my art like only for myself. Like, things that inspire me, or things that other people say, or things I'll hear or consume, whether it's like from Netflix or like the news or whatever, if it hits me in a certain way, it's gonna hit somebody else. And like, sometimes I'll hear like, it'll be like one thing that'll stand out, and it'll just like punch me in the gut, and I'm like, ugh. And I'm like, I need to do something with that. And if I feel that way, somebody else is gonna feel this way. And to make art that other people can resonate with, that is so powerful. And I personally find a lot of peace in that when I see art that I connect with. So I hope that I'm creating something in that same realm for someone else.
It makes people feel less lonely too.
Definitely.
it's a connection. We thrive on, like, we want connection, especially in this time where like we're so separated in COVID and the pandemic. Like, we crave connection. And so to have connection with art, and to have that, to be able to produce that and have that connection with the viewer is like huge.
Especially when it's community based. Like, Philly is so big, but so small. Like, you see the same people when you used to be on your commute every day. You be in Trader Joe's, see somebody, you don't know them, but like, you see them around the city. And I feel like to feel like a connection with the art specifically when it's in like a form that is relative to the community, that's so beautiful. That is so nice to me. That's just why I love Philly.
Well, Philly,
It really
is so special. I mean, there's nothing like it. There's no place that feels like as welcoming to hearing us, or hearing even just myself, than Philly. There's like, New York's a total different place. Even Baltimore, that's not even that far, and it's like a whole different setup. And it's interesting. We talked about that, I think, a little last week. Like, why Philly? Why is it here that's attracts artists like us? And I think it's just because it's like a very revolutionary city. It always historically has been.
Yeah, I think we've retained that community as well. That's the first thing that I say to people. Like, I love being able to know you all personally, to be able to walk down the street and then, you're able to comment and sort of give a little bit of background on the person who someone, is stopping to look at their work. And it's because we all are just so close knit. And I think we talked about places in Philadelphia that really sort of are like incubators. And one of them that we mentioned that we all love is like tea moms. Having that space to be able to, yes, a big clap for Robert
Yes,
and
Robert.
everybody who makes us feel
Hi,
so
tea moms.
at home at Tea Moms. I love that. I love knowing my servers. I love being able to sit at the bar and talk about people's kids and their artwork and the things they do outside of Tea Moms. But it's because, you know, they've opened up a space for us where you're free to express an opinion, and you're not being censored. And so, you know, just having a space like that is incredible.
It's a safe space.
Pours out into the street, right? Yes,
Yeah.
it's a safe.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, talk about connection. I mean, that is the place where I feel like we all just kind of go to, and we all have a beer together, and everyone's so supportive of one another. There's like, you know, never any hard feelings or beef, you know, like everyone's so supportive, and the community is amazing. Like I love every single one of them. Every single person who's in street art is just amazing.
I think that's like what makes Philly like so cool with street art is like, I think the people here are really welcoming. Like I remember when I first started doing it in 2017, I have literally made some of like my best friends from doing street art, which is crazy to think about. I would have never thought that when I moved here and I didn't know anybody. And there's like there's not a weird thing of like competition. Like I'm putting something up and it needs to be better than somebody else.
Yeah.
Like I met my studio mate, Nicole, from like a random collab that we did in the street. Like that's crazy. And I think to like have this like these open arms for like kind of whoever wants to make it, and like a respect for one another is so cool. And something that I don't think is everywhere. Definitely not.
I think that's like one of the reasons why Philly is special, because it's that cooperativeness and that connection. It's not competitiveness. So to be able to like go on the street and do collabs with other street artists, as opposed to being like, oh no, this is my space or this is my space. It's like we come together and we do it together, and that is like a beautiful thing, because no, that isn't everywhere.
Do you guys find that there are certain neighborhoods that garners more attention, or you get more communication back from people?
I'd say like South Philly, Fishtown.
I think I put it in Center City, where they're like not so much now, or when there was so much foot traffic, it was always a little bit harder because there were so many people around, or like cops or other things. And but to have it in a space where people were like taking their train to another train, and so many people would be passing it all the time, I think that is an awesome spot.
Do you?
But also,
oh yeah, but it's hard to put up there. I mean,
it's so hard.
That's risky.
I know.
You gotta be quick.
I like walk around the city. I walk around finding like blank canvases, like which wall is going to be good, like, and like eyeing out the foot traffic and eyeing out like if this is going to be an okay area, is this going to be taken down, like what are the chances? So it's
looking to
like,
see if there's been like, is it a spot that gets buffed all the time?
You can
like
see
there's like ripped off things.
Yeah.
Even with stickers, like when you see them taken down and stuff, like I think the term's like ghosts. Like so you see like a lot of ghosts on a sign, like you don't even bother, because it does cost money for us to be making the things that we're making. It is kind of, which is fine, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, you gotta, that's the best part about like all of us talking. Like I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing what kind of wheat paste people are using. Almost no one uses the same thing, because everyone, like myself, when I first started in 2015, like I didn't know anybody. I had 0 friends that like did street art or made stickers or like even cared about any of that stuff. And it was so exciting when I would go to Tea Moms and suddenly they're like, oh, yo, that's snot over there. And I'm like, stop it. What? And I'm like fangirling over this person. And then you get to chat and you're like, oh my God, you're a human. I thought you were superhuman.
Mm-hmm.
Making all this beautiful stuff and putting it around there for me. Like, I felt like, oh my God, you've been such a important part of my life and my daily life, and you almost like being a highlight in my days. That's just, it's wild.
It's sweet.
Who else does that? What else does that?
I mean, it's a very, I think, important form of therapy. And like when we spoke last week, I just wanted to expound on the fact that I really love the fact that artists might be working out issues for themselves on the street. And I wondered if you've ever put up anything and gotten sort of like any pushback, and it's required you to maybe have some more like self-reflection or do a little bit more research. Like, have you ever come across an instance where it's just like, oh, I need to think about that a little bit more before I...
Well, I think before you put anything in the public space, you should like definitely flesh it out mentally for yourself. So when someone asks you about it, you know how you feel about it. If you're putting something in the public space without even like thinking about your statement, it's like speaking before you think about it. Like you're going to put your foot in your mouth, and it's going to that's I would never want to do that. I would never want to disrespect anyone's space or like something about them. And I think to be really conscientious of that is so important. Like you have to be. Like with great power comes great responsibilities, and it's the same thing.
But I mean, there's always going to be haters, like no matter what. So the discourse and the controversial statements or whatever it might be, like haters going to hate. So just let them hate. But I mean, most times you do know what you're putting up, and you know it is a good message, and there is something to get across there.
Yeah. There's definitely like, I don't think, I've been very blessed with the fact that I don't ever really get too many like trolls who are like, I hate what you're freaking doing, like stop. But I have gotten in trouble for just where I put my artwork, and that's been a learning experience. I've gotten yelled at many times, and unfortunately by a lot of men, and that's only made me more mad and more putting things up more. But I learned not to put it in those places that upset people. But you know, as a person who never felt like they deserved any space in the world, I am mindful about where I put it, but I'm not going to not put it up, because I do think that the very core of what we're doing and how it is activism just within the act itself is we're 3 women, and we're taking public space back. Public space has not been safe for women for a very long time. And especially as someone who has dealt with trauma, you know, it's not like, for me, I wanted the world to feel welcoming after my assault happened, and it didn't feel welcoming. And that moment of putting it up and then walking away, like I felt a little lighter every single time. Like I felt like unburdening myself through every single sticker. That meant I was actively going through the processes of healing from trauma. I would share things in a sticker, and I'd be like up all night, like, oh my God, I can't believe I just shared that with Philadelphia. Like, what in the world did I just do? But no one has ever been like very rude about the amount that I share personally. And really the only problem I've ever had, I did a series with where I was drawing women in mirrors, and it was the Note to Self series.
Mm-hmm.
So it was women looking into mirrors, and then it was submission based, so people would write really long emails to me, and then I'd kind of take what they write to me and write a poem for them. And that was the only time that I've had like an issue with people vandalizing my work, vandalizing my vandalism. And I think it's just because I was finally depicting women. There's like, people were just like scratching out their faces and stuff. And I found that very interesting, that when all of my stuff has been done really in that, that blur mouth that I've created. And when a mouth with feelings that is taken out of the context of what gender you are was accepted more than the honesty of being depicted with women. And I mean, that's just street art right there. Even in the beginning of my career, I mean, I hid my gender because I thought no one was going to take me seriously, because street artists are typically men.
Yeah.
Which is not the case anymore. Philadelphia, it's mostly women.
Very
we are
powerful voices.
I
love
really are.
I mean, and it's an important thing for us to be able to talk about, because we're talking about creating like these safe spaces for one another and for this community. And look, everyone's got issues and everybody needs to talk them through, and we all need to know that we're not in this alone. But I find it frustrating and very interesting that it's still something that revolves even from, like, if you're looking at like blue chip art, like it's just hard for women to get into museums, it's hard for women to be in institutions, but it's just like mind-blowing that you wheat pasting something on the street that has to do with an issue that's prevalent to women is now causing someone else distress.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I think the important thing to remember is that when someone else walks by it who's dealing with the same thing, it's mind-blowing to see that another woman would expose herself in that way. Because even if I don't know who you are, I think we all recognize how hard it is just to come to grips with saying that thing out loud.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. And as a society, again, I feel like things really changed in the last 5 years. I mean, like, even within the Me Too movement and Time's Up, I mean, after that, it was like everyone sharing their stories, and it was powerful as anything. But there's a reason why a lot of women haven't shared their stories, and it's because there's so much shame around it and too many questions that impose. Yeah, it's like,
yeah, like we don't have the space to say stuff a lot of times. Like, it is not the right moment, or like you don't want to dampen the mood, or like,
yeah,
oh, that's like
be a bummer.
That's not, like,
yeah, be a bummer or like a burden. And it's like, no, keep your messiness to yourself. Mm-hmm. We don't want to see it. You need to fit into this box. And if not, you're causing too much trouble, and we don't like trouble.
But I think the success of some of, the street artists that we loved here, and I'm just going to say artists, is because they were both so bold, and at the very beginning of campaigns like this, like Umbrella, I remember, gosh, has her work evolved so much, but in the very beginning, her talking about an illness so boldly and so openly was just like mind-blowing to me. And I just making a point to like bring all my friends down, like, look at this. Like, I wanted to talk more about it. I wanted to understand her more. And I just wanted to know who she was.
She's been a really big inspiration to a lot of people in Philadelphia.
It's very brave of you all to, speak out the way you are on any of our social issues. But what I thought was really interesting is when we talked last week, you guys started to transition into even talking about what it was like to be out on the street and have the privilege to paste up versus someone of color trying to do the same thing. And I know it's not exactly the same for you, Symone, so maybe you can go into that a little bit. It's because for you, it was what you presented as. And
I think just like being aware of how you look on the street, and like I think just like acknowledging where like what we're doing comes from, and knowing that Philly is such a graffiti writing city. Like, this is where cornbread is from, and we are doing that. And like, I know what I look like when I go out in broad daylight. Like, I'm femme, and I'm out here in a dress, and I'm not at night like spray painting. And like, a lot of times no one says anything to me. People ask to like take a picture while I'm doing it, or like say thank you. Like, that's not happening for like Black and brown kids who were like starting this, and like writing graffiti and like getting arrested. And like, that is not my reality when I'm putting something up. So like, that is an absolute necessity to acknowledge that with what we do.
Yeah, like we are privileged. Like we are the definition of privilege. Like walking through the streets, putting up stuff, not even having a worry, maybe like a slight worry, but like not nearly as what these kids are going through, or these other people who like basically founded it and still are going through it now. So yeah, we are, this is privilege.
Yeah, I mean, I worry about getting arrested all the time. It's something that I will say like, okay, pay my bail if I don't come back. But I'm not afraid of losing my life for a week paste. I'm not worried it's going to stop me from ever getting a job. And that is huge. That is really, really huge things that we have to acknowledge, like we've been saying. And, you know, I have had a cop come up to me while putting stuff up, and he was just kind of like, come on, take it down. And I was just like, I mean, I was sweating like crazy. And I was nervous because I don't like confrontation. But, you know, I got to walk away without a problem and then keep doing it. And that's huge. And there's, you know, I've gotten lots of direct messages on Instagram, like, are there any people of color street artists? Like, what are their names? Throw me their like page. And unfortunately, there's not enough. There's really not enough.
I think that's like what's important though about like when you get to a space where you have any kind of platform is to open the door for other people. If you are at a space where you have privilege to open the door for other people and you're not, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, how did you are now? You know what I mean? And I feel like to make sure, like when you see an opportunity, knowing that like you can send that link to somebody else to apply for it, or you can throw someone else's name out there, or like send someone's like handle to someone else that like might be able to get a job from it that maybe never has got a job from it before. That's like, that is power in itself. And to be able to for other people is so important the more you're making art and the further you get along in your career.
Yeah.
And at least
that's
why,
the
like,
power of your platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why I think collaborating is really important, lifting each other up. Again, like no competition. I mean, if your work's good, and it moves and it keeps going. But it's so important to like, if I have some sort of opportunity, that I also share it with other people. It's not just me hoarding my like moment. It's like, no, we need to open these things, because if I have something to say, everybody got something to say.
Say that. Yeah, exactly.
And probably have something more to say, or can say it in a different way that connects with other people. I mean, we need more voices, not less.
Yeah. I love that we're sort of identifying these, like the common denominator within the group. And I think within a lot of different artists in Philadelphia, like it's not just all fun and games. I mean, it's lovely to be out in the, you know, in this space, but it's also a huge responsibility, you know, and you have to take it seriously and be respectful to the community around you as well. And I just want people to recognize that, like, it's not something that I think you do on a whim. I'm not saying that people shouldn't dream big and go out and do it, but it does take a lot of thought for a lot of the artists that go out. I love the artists that come to me with an idea, and because it's not fully formulated, they will wait 4 months for it. I'm like, put it out there now. And they're like, no, not ready yet. Like when it's complete, when it's all done, then I know. So it's like, I guess, and we'll maybe start with Tiff, like, when do you know it's ready to go out on the street? Like, what is your process?
So I was going to touch on this earlier. Like sometimes when I get inspiration, it takes me a while. Like I have to sit on an idea. Like I can't just have my inspiration and like, I am so envious of you, Simone, to be able to do that. But like sometimes it just like takes me a little while to like think it through completely and actually like feel all the feelings in the process of whatever that like whatever is going on. I just have to like think through my feelings and go through my feelings, like basically like step by step. And then once I reach that end, I'm like, okay, now I can create. Now I like have a full circle of like what I want, what it is that I want to create and how to word it and the colors to use and like placement and sizing. But it does take a while for me. Like, you know, I have this fly sitting on my wall still because I want to go put it up with the whole Mike Pence with the fly on the head. But like it takes a certain moment, like after I go through like reading things and thought processes to actually like put the color on and put the line work on and actually go place it. So it's, I guess I'm a little bit slower, but that's just how my process works.
There's no timeline. Yeah, there's no timeline though, you know?
But yeah, that's my process.
It's like, but for you, Blur, it's not just about the process. I am so shocked about you being out there with your health conditions and just like being a boss. Like some of the stories you were telling us last week, I'm like, are you really out there like that? Like,
yeah,
that's me calling out of work. Like, oh, I can't.
Yeah, I have done it through a lot of bad days. I've gone to shows with you know, an hour before I'm like talking to people being like, I shouldn't go, I feel like all hell, like no way. But I mean, there's something inside of me that just is so driven to be like, no, like screw this, I'm not going to be like constrained to my bed and suffering like this while the world's like still spinning full speed. And I mean, I'm so glad COVID hopefully stopped the whole hustle culture thing. I hope, because like the amount of shame that comes with that is not fair. It's like not a fair thing. But yeah, I have wheat pasted in the past with my walker. I have a very nice walker that has a seat with a compartment under the seat, and that's where my wheat paste would go, and that's where all of my artwork would be. And I'm just going down the street and just hitting up Bainbridge Street, and I'm just like, no, like nothing to see here. Like, and I put it up, and I'm like, da-da-da, and then I keep going.
That's so powerful, though. It's like I now, you know, it's an extra layer to you. So now when I see that work, I'm just gonna think about you taking back power.
Oh,
you know, because
yeah,
with an illness, right? Isn't that the thing? Like where you can't control your body, you can't control what's happening day by day. So it just you feel so helpless sometimes. But knowing that you're out there doing that, I'm like, dang, look at that.
Thank you. And then with stickers, like I will use my cane to get it like nice and high. I'm just, you know, just a girl whacking a sign with a cane, and no one's gonna ask me any questions. They're probably like secretly scared of me. Like, I got a cane, and like, don't, watch out. But yeah, there was even a short period of time, like in the beginning. I mean, my health has been doing so much better, which is a blessing and not something I would have thought of. Like if you talk to me, oh, sorry, someone tried calling me. Political scam or something like that. But yeah, I was bedridden for a little while in the beginning, and I was just packs of hello my name is stickers and a big thing of Sharpies. Asked for a really big kit of Sharpies for Christmas, and Santa delivered, and I was just in bed just making them. And then my siblings live in the city, and so they would take the stickers and they would put them around for a little bit and send me pictures, and then I have a picture to do. But yeah, it's been a wild ride. I don't know how I've done it sometimes, but
I hope you keep continuing to do it and in good health as well. We're going to open up for the Q&A, but I'm going to let Simone answer as well, because we were all laughing at Simone last week, but we weren't laughing at you, but just the fact that you are a machine. Like as soon as something comes out, it is already wheat pasted on the street. You were just going for it. Are you sleeping? Yeah. That's what we want to know. Are you sleeping?
Sleep, yeah. Sleep is my favorite. I love a nap. I don't know. I just feel like for myself, like the things that I create are often like stuff that is inspiring me, like specifically in current times, and something, whether it like upsets me or I feel like I need to go put it out, I will just make it. And while I'm making it, I'm often like really thinking about it. And I'm not good at meditating, but I recently learned that like painting is a form of meditation, specifically like as a repetitive motion. And I love that. I want to claim that for myself and say that like painting definitely, like I could be feeling like crap all day and I could paint and I really feel like relief and like I can like breathe and I'm good. So to be able to kind of work through whatever I'm dealing with, make something and then be able to go put it up, that feels good sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. I think it does. And that also comes with like obviously always respecting, like doing as much as I can to respect the public space. And like I would never post up on like someone's like mom and pop shop or someone's like house. Like I don't mess with that. I don't think that's cool personally. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's funny that I have a reputation for that. Like
It's a good
like,
one.
it's good.
Yeah, we're not poking fun at you.
Yeah.
We're going to start with one of our first questions, but I just want to let everybody know that if you have a question for anybody here in the group tonight, please put that in the Q&A box, and we'll try and get to as many as we can tonight. But yeah, so right down below, guys, you'll see the Q&A. You can pop your question in, and we'll read it to the group. Okay, so first one, and anybody can start this. We can, everybody can answer the question. How do you know what is a good place for work? Oh, we talked about this, and what places to stay away from. So let's see, list of good places and list of places to avoid.
I think a place.
Yeah,
a place that.
You go, Tiff. You go.
Okay. I was gonna say, with the pandemic, like I found that there are so many places that are boarded up. They have plywood on it, and those are. I feel like I don't want to call them like safe spaces, but like they're plywood. They're like permanent but temporary at the moment. So why not just go? It's a blank canvas. Like might as well just go put some art up. So I feel like those are good places to put up.
Places not to put up. Don't be pasting up over other people's stuff. Don't be pasting up on someone's graffiti writing or someone else's piece. There are other spots in the city. Like if you're gonna cut a little bit of it off, okay. If you are intentionally covering someone else's stuff when it is not buffed and it is there, I don't think that's the vibe. I want to say I'm not hurt when my stuff gets messed up. I don't mind. Like it's whatever, like stuff happens. But like if you see a spot that is empty right next to where you're putting it up and you're choosing to put it up on someone else's stuff, that's not a good look.
You're just gonna cause a little beef with people, and you might get known for that or something. That's not fun.
Yeah,
it's
not. No, and whether you think like a tag is art or it isn't, it's somebody's work and you don't mess with it. So leave the tags alone.
We're all taking the risk. We're all doing that. So I think respecting the risk is important, but also take up the space. I mean, there's so many places that you can go. Abandoned buildings is a good thing to do. Any kind of construction site that has the plywood around it. Bainbridge Street, that was a big one. And that was, yeah, I know, RIP.
Bainbridge free wall, I missed that.
Yeah, I know. And, for me, sometimes I don't think that there's that much space on a wall. And so I've hit fire hydrants, boxes for newspapers. With stickers, you can kind of get in the nooks and crannies with things. So, I mean, my biggest advice for people who want to start is start with stickers.
Also, like people sometimes DM me and they're like, "What's a good wall?" I'm like, "Go for a bike ride. Go for a."
I don't know.
Like that's.
Do you?
I'm not gonna. I bike everywhere in the city. I don't drive. I don't have a car. And like, I'll be on my bike, and when I'm at a red light, I'm like, "Oh, that spot on 20th and whatever. Noted. It's in my notes."
Yeah.
Like you can do.
You do that too. I do that
too.
It's in my,
I have like
God,
a whole list.
Go make your own list. You got it.
Yeah.
Like, you'll be good.
And then sometimes you'll go back to the spot and it's already taken. And you're like, dang,
Yeah.
okay. You're like, all right. But yeah, having a list always just, I mean, once you start, you're going to see it everywhere.
Right.
Like, I feel like I have spidey senses for where's okay and where's not. And it's a learning experience. It's okay to mess up, apologize, you know, don't let that stop you from doing it either. Because we all make mistakes. I learn the hard way a lot of the times.
Yeah.
I also just reiterating having respect for the community and for the city and for people's businesses and for people's homes. Like,
not everyone finds it to be artwork. You know,
yeah.
Some people find it to be vandalism, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Like, you don't know somebody's like their life story and like what it took for them to own that property or how much they put into that space. So like really keeping that in mind when you're putting something up is, I think, important. Unless you have permission, and then in that case, like, go ham.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like if you
permission.
Yeah,
too,
you can go into the business and ask them, like, if at the least, like, hey, like, do you mind me putting this up? And if they say no, then go somewhere else. But like, just asking them, they probably will say yes.
That's
yeah,
true.
and if they don't say yes, then you know,
move on, right?
Like, I have so much work that's like in my trunk and it's ready. It's just I haven't found space yet.
Yep.
Let's see. All right. So our next question is, which is one piece of advice you'd give to an aspiring street artist?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, be brave, be bold.
Just go out there.
And start with stickers. I really, really, really believe that sticker art is a whole subsection of street art. It's, you know, you got your wheat pasters, you got your writers, your graffiti artists, and then you got sticker art. And that's like the most accessible thing. Like, hello, my name is stickers, or stickers from the post office. Actually, right now, don't steal those from the post office. They need help. So
those are so hard to find anymore. It's like, if anyone finds them, they're like, oh, where'd you get these from?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have a big pile.
That like wheat paste and like street art in that sense, specifically with wheat paste, is so accessible. Wheat paste is flour and water.
Yeah.
You could have like
YouTube it
from the bodega for $1
Yeah.
and paper have laying around, or recycled paper, which was what
Yeah.
I was doing. And you could make it work. You could do a whole project for $2. Anybody?
I use cardboard often right now, because around here it's viewed as vandalism to put shit on walls. Excuse my language. Oh my god. So I use cardboard. I'll make a pizza, and then that pizza box is getting cut out. I'm painting it. I hole punch it. I use zip ties. I put it on chain fences and stuff. Like, there's always a way for you to get your message out. There always is.
That's a good idea, Blair.
Thank you.
I think that telling people that they can make their own wheat paste on the stove is great as well too, because so many people will say to me, like, where do I buy it from? Like, no. Go.
And a big tip is when, especially for all of those wooden panels, wood glue. You need to get some wood glue.
Gorilla glue is amazing.
And I put it in the wheat paste, and my containers for wheat paste change all the time too. I don't know about you guys.
What do you use? What container do you use?
I just transferred to using a like Folgers coffee can.
Oh. I'm a big Chinese food.
I was just about to say, like, that is my big whatever my soup comes in is what I am now making my
this is Parmesan cheese, the container. And here's some wheat paste in this. And sometimes I just take a box cutter, cut a little X, put a brush inside of it, and then that's quick. Nice, there you go.
And then it takes off the excess.
Yeah.
I use one of those Tupperwares that have the clicks on the side. And then, so like, I can just put it in my backpack and I know it's not going to spill.
Yeah.
And then take it out and then unclip it.
People use water bottles and like spray the wall and then do it. And if you see a cop car,
I will say a roller, like, the roller is not good, like, but a brush is with actual like bristles. Like the roller, it just like, it seemed like it like
roller.
soaked it up too much.
Mm.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
I just couldn't like get it to spread out.
Sometimes I'm just using
trial
my
and error.
hand.
Hand.
Sometimes I'm like, we're just gonna smear.
Bring a bandana to wipe your hands off.
You got to get the bubbles out. You have to get the bubbles out.
Yeah, whatever.
I love it.
There's bubbles. Like you got to smooth them out with your hands.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness, we just got a really good question. Okay, so the first part of this question, Crystal, we could be all day long with this one. But is street art illegal, or what precautions should we as people of color or small business owners consider? That's some full-time stuff there.
Yeah. Doing it at having a lookout is helpful if you have a friend. It's nice to kind of meet up with street artists and kind of, help each other out in that way. I like doing it during the day because like at night, all cars are the same almost. And during the day, that's when you'll be able to see. And I mean, my heart's racing when I'm doing it still. Every time I do it, I'm like, palms are sweaty.
That's the thing, like,
because it is illegal.
Your street art doesn't have to be illegal. And like we said before, a lot of business owners, especially if things are boarded up, would prefer something pretty there instead of someone just coming over and defacing. So if it worries you that much, you can definitely, I would say, just ask people if you can do it.
Yeah, asking for permission is helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And then
very
T-Moms isn't open, but T-Moms was a place that you could kind of get comfortable just putting up in T-Moms in the beginning.
I think starting in your neighborhood too is a great way. Like for me, I live in South Philly, and like even now, sometimes out of being lazy, I'd like just put things up in South Philly because it's convenient, and it was the pandemic and I didn't want to go too far. But like really knowing where you live and like knowing how the streets are, or like knowing your neighbors and like what's going on, that's a good place to start. And then maybe moving into another spot, but definitely always in the daytime. When you're doing stuff at night, like, every car is like, I don't know what that is, but also like avoid looking sketchy. Stop looking over your shoulder when you're
if you feel sketchy, you look sketchy, and
like make sure you make it, but also like have a buddy. Having a buddy is a vibe.
Yeah,
like, I bring my partners.
I like buddies.
Buddies
like,
are good.
And I also have my bike, so when I have to go, I leave. The end.
Yeah. We've got
take it down if you get yelled at. If you get yelled at, you take it down.
And, a lot of times I think it's about having conversation. When you're being questioned, I try to be as polite as possible and explain what we're doing it and why we're doing it. And some people are just like, you know what? Okay, fine. That's great. I've even offered to come back and take it down if it starts looking pretty bad on the property. I'm like, here's my number. You can call me. I'll come scrape it off for you. They never call, but I think that they just appreciate that you're being responsible for the work that you're putting up.
Yeah, that's very true.
We have someone asking, have you ever added color to black and white wheat paste? And if yes, how? There's a lot. So are you using acrylics? Are you using markers? Are there watercolors? Like, so I guess, Simone, that might be like a great one for you because you put glitter in one of your last ones.
In the wheat paste? Or like in the...
This is a secret. I came up with an incredible idea, okay? Okay, so I think like when you're making stuff, like giving yourself the space to like explore new materials is 100% the vibe. Like do new stuff. It's definitely good for you. With that being said, I don't think that markers work the best because they bleed, especially if they're water soluble. If you think about what wheat paste is, it's water and like flour, right? So for me, like acrylic paint, awesome. I've used wall paint often. Like you're good to go. I think a Sharpie, not always the best depending on like what you're doing, but I don't have the most experience with that. But like try it out beforehand. You could do something small without ruining your piece, like scribble on something with that material and then like try to put it on something with a wheat paste. And if it's not coming out cool, like don't do that for your whole piece and waste all this time because you're going to be upset.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure this out. I mean,
what I use is, so like if you go to a home improvement store or whatever, they have little paint samples. They're like $2 each. You go and you pick all the paint samples that you want. So you get all the colors that you want. It's all acrylic.
That's
And you bring it home
thrifty.
and you paint it on your paper. And the markers that I use are either oil-based Sharpie professional paint markers, or they have the professional paint Sharpie markers that like can write on anything. So and they won't like come off. And those are also at like a home improvement store.
Posca.
But
Posca pens, yeah, Posca pens, the Sharpie, oil-based,
yes, oil-based.
yes, or acrylic. Yeah, like Simone said, nothing with water. And a lot of wheat pasters also digitally print their work so that there's a lot of it. As you can see here, I have vote mouths right here. And I found that laser printing is always better for wheat pasting, because it'll just be like, I'll touch it with wheat paste and it's like blurry. The ink will move. And I've tried spraying it. I mean, it's really fun to experiment with it. Stay curious and try things.
With the wheat paste, like you want to do it on a flat surface like concrete or like plywood. Like the bumpy surfaces are like a little bit more difficult.
Like
you
brick.
guys find?
Yeah, brick is like it's my
or like stucco or
it's
something.
like all brick, everything brick up in New England.
Stucco is
Stucco is so difficult.
It's gonna hurt your hands too if you're like trying to.
That's gonna
when
break
you're like pushing all the little paper in the stucco, it's just not working.
Stuff will tear up too. Like I'm putting it up and it'll just tear or it bleeds, and I'm like, okay, learning experience.
It's trial and error. It's all trial and error.
When stuff breaks, also when you're wheat pasting it, you're putting stuff up with glue. It's like a puzzle. You move her over and like, don't be hard on yourself. Like shit happens. Like just like fix it and then put some more wheat paste on it and she'll dry.
Yeah,
it'll probably be fine.
That don't you hear? Like now everybody's trying to get us to. I'm like realizing we're all losing sun. I don't know. Now I'm getting like potential spam. Like, oh, you could be kidding me.
Yeah.
That time for the robocalls. So
yeah.
You know how it goes. We are so sadly at, let's see, past our hour. But it's been a lovely chat with everybody. And I feel like I'm like so October right now. All I have is this ghostly light.
It's working though.
I'm so happy to be able to chat with everybody. And I hope that everybody enjoyed this chat and that you see their work and hear their voices outside of this chat. And we should all be getting an email from Mural Arts that has sort of like a recap of what went on today. And if anybody has any other questions, it should have the Instagram handles for everybody here in the chat. And you can reach out to all of the artists later on. But thanks for joining us all. Hope you join us again next month for our next chat. And thank you guys for talking to us today.
It was a pleasure. I could talk with you guys forever.
Oh yeah. It's been nice. Thank you for having us.
Bye.
Bye.
Where's our out music, Victoria?